So, welcome to the weekend.
Welcome inside Aragón. It's the weekend.
It's the weekend, yeah.
Everywhere else in the world. Or somewhere it's not.
My name's Merrick and this is my friend Ben. Say hello, Ben.
Hello, Ben.
The big news. There is only one news story this evening, this weekend in Aragón. Sadly, the premature exultant relief of being released from our non-Pilares restrictions lasted a little less than 24 hours, as the local government has announced the intention to enforce a whole new set of restrictions for us to get our heads around. And that will come into force on Monday morning. Ben, can you guess when they're going to tell us what these restrictions are?
Well, what's happened so far this year is they've usually, sometime during the week, announced that there are changes approaching. And then on Sunday, they tell you what those changes are. And then Monday, they're put in place. Yeah,
frustratingly, these restrictions are going to be announced at some point over the weekend and set out on Monday itself. So we're supposed to align ourselves with the new set of restrictions on Monday that come into force when they probably haven't been formally announced. What we will do over the weekend is we'll try to keep tabs on what the local governments say and kind of set out what the restrictions are. But so look on our webpage, www.bulldogz, that's bulldog and z.org, and we'll have further information there. But this new classification is set on impending new legislation from Madrid, and they're going to set out, it's a bit like the three-tier system in the UK, they're going to set out low risk, medium risk, high risk, and extreme risk. And wouldn't you just know it, but Aragón is going to be classified as an extreme risk category.
This was announced today, right?
Yeah.
Friday the 16th.
Well, the Aragonese local government on Friday the 16th of October announced their plans to put in train new restrictions, but they're going to be based on this extreme risk category, which is being debated in legislation in Madrid on Monday.
Right, so what does all of that mean?
So, being an extreme risk classification area means that there are possibilities to enact the following restrictions. Are you ready?
I'm holding on to something.
Okay, so restrictions on the freedom of movement for citizens, perimeter lockdown of communities, zones or cities, social gatherings to a maximum of 6 people. Now this one, the local government in their press conference today made clear that this is going to come into force. This particular one.
I thought it was 6 already. Was it 10?
I think it's 10 people had to sit at a bar together.
Right. Okay. So it's 6 in public.
I think it's in all situations. So
it's just the magic number.
But it says social gatherings. So I'm not quite clear how that impacts on workspace. But
say there are 12 people in my family, so we're 2 groups of 6. Can we?
You probably have to be in different rooms. I'm not entirely clear. This is why we have to wait for more information. It gets better though. There's a 25% limit on the capacity of shops and outdoor markets. That, in case you weren't sure, will almost certainly spell the end of any potential Christmas market activity this year. Bars and restaurants interiors to be closed. Capacity limited to 50% on terrazas, with a minimum separation of 2 meters between tables.
Well, that's perfect timing for the cold winter winds of Zaragoza.
Well, the only people who sit at terrazas this time of year are the Giris anyway, so we're fairly much fine. A total nightlife ban. I didn't know that had been lifted anyway.
I haven't had a nightlife for about 10 years, so I'm not bothered.
Lockdown of pensioners' residences and suspension of day centre services. Public transport to be limited to 30% of capacity. Recommendation of teleworking. I believe that means that the government's going to strongly advise you do your work from home. Blended education in schools wherever possible.
Blended education. What does that mean?
I think this means, I'm going to have to do a bit more research on this one, but I think this means split rooms. So you go down to 15 people.
It's like they do in the school Molière. I have a student there. They live stream the class to another room.
I think so. I have to double check what the exact legal definition of
this is a long list.
I know. preferential physical activity hours for people over 70 years old. That was already in phase 2 anyway. That's going to simply be put back into effect. Capacity of 30% for places of worship.
30%. These percentages are a lot lower.
Yeah. Weddings and wakes limited to a maximum of 10 people. I'm assuming that doesn't include the recently deceased. Banquets, though, are expressly prohibited.
What is a banquet?
Well, I suppose that's the idea of you can get married, but you can't have a party afterwards.
Oh, right.
I think that's basically what that's setting out. Congresses and seminars to be online only. Closure of entertainment venues such as bingo halls, casinos, betting shops, and arcades.
Not the bingo.
I know. This one is important for maybe some of our listeners. Language academies, and driving schools at 30% capacity. I don't even know what that means in terms of business model. Museums and exhibitions at 25% capacity. So the General Director of Public Health in Aragón, Francisco Javier Fallon, explained, this is interesting, listen to this, that the legal form of the new measures was being assessed.
Right.
And he hoped that the judicial situation would be solved. Okay? But he was fairly brutal, if not a little vague, in his warning that, are you ready for it? We can no longer talk about a new normal.
Yeah.
You have to live with the virus. Quite frankly, Mr. Politician, none of us ever believed this new normal nonsense anyway. We all thought it was a bit of a joke. That's just my editorial approach.
It's certainly new.
And it's certainly not normal. So, at the press conference, the two men spoke of their intention to utilise, the social group limit of 6. And so that, therefore, Spain has now got the language of the social bubble, which people in England are quite familiar with already. And they did also hint at the intention not to make any changes to education arrangements. But that's it. That's what we've got. We've got this expectation of Aragon being classified under a new law yet to be passed in Madrid, which would put us at what's called extreme risk. And those things that I have listed all out for you are potential powers available to the local government to enact.
They'll select which ones are suitable for the region, I suppose.
Well, we have to. We don't know what.
We're not going to have the whole set.
Well, let's hope not. As I said at the press conference, they were very clear about the intention to make this social bubble of 6 thing a law locally, and they hinted that they weren't expecting to make any changes to education arrangements. So that hints that there's going to be some flexibility in how many of these powers they enforce. Now, interestingly, they did not give us any time frame for this new state. But ministers in general today in Spain have been quoted as referring to a complicated 6 weeks.
Okay. Oh, so the takeaway message from this, moving on from this horrific story that you've just dropped on us, the takeaway message is Christmas is cancelled.
Well, we were predicting this some time ago, weren't we? Yeah, Christmas is cancelled.
Christmas is in fact not cancelled. It started this week. Can you hear the bells?
I wish I could give you some sound effects. I just don't have the Christmas cheer yet.
The installation of the Zaragoza Christmas lights has begun. And like everything this year, it does have a slightly sad tone to it, because the reason they're being put up so early is there's no clean-up operation from the Pilar Festival. There wasn't a Pilar Festival, and so there are a lot of labourers around Zaragoza with not much to do, and the council thought it would be a good idea to install some festive cheer early on and install the Christmas lights.
And I imagine the citizenry of Zaragoza are thrilled.
Well, I've got a few comments from a Facebook group called Sucesos de Zaragoza.
Yeah.
So, are we allowed to curse?
Of course we are. It's our own platform.
So, Zule says, the fucking light budget last year screwed me up, but this one, that money should be invested in soup kitchens, people who do not have any help, or simply that they will need help to give to their loved ones. Give it to health. And then there's a part here which is quite... I had a little bit of difficulty translating this into English, and I apologise if there are any young listeners now. Cover your ears.
You've just sworn already.
Yeah, but it's in English, so it doesn't have the same impact. She said, or he said, I don't know, Zule? Is that?
No idea.
I don't know. Hostia, que puto melón de ayuntamiento. Right, which
roughly translates as the holy host.
What
a melon of a
from
town hall.
I think when you call someone a melon, I think it's like a melon head.
It's
like
the melon.
Like stupid.
It's that melon bitch, isn't it? Or melon prostitute, melon bitch.
Okay,
that melon
right.
bitch
Well,
from
there
town
you go.
hall.
Say
what you think.
Meanwhile, Laura said they are the same lights from last year, so at least it gives a little colour to this Christmas that will be very dark and hard for everyone. I think that's a very salient point.
We won't be able to go see them anyway.
Well, in response to that, Christina said there are more lights. There are more
lights than last year.
It's not the same lights as last year.
I'm glad that my hard-earned unemployment benefits.
We'll get to that. We'll get to those comments in a moment. But then the same lady, Christina, added they were bought before COVID, and they are LED low consumption lights. So there's some kind of compensation there. Lola said this year is going to be very sad. Family reunions will no longer be possible. What good are the lights to me if we are not going to be able to go out and enjoy them?
So, have we got one more story to hit before we?
Yeah, it's
we
not
wind
positive though.
Oh, okay.
We do. Look, you didn't come here for positive news. You know that. I know that. And
There
isn't any. So, well, in reflection of the non-Pilar festivities, we've just got a little bit of information about how people were treated, I suppose, during the festive weekend. You've got a story, haven't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was very lucky. I went for works drinks at my academy, and then I left early to go walk the dog, and then spent the rest of the long weekend looking at photographs of my colleagues being accosted by riot police, who basically shut down the street and came and asked for everyone's ID. Enforcing ridiculous rules such as people were smoking within 2 meters of each other in the street. There were more than 10 people at a table, or people not wearing masks. Apparently you're supposed to wear your masks in between sips of alcohol. I mean, it was ludicrous.
What's interesting about your
ludicrous
story,
and all the press
they
turned up with
Aragón
the press.
television.
Yeah.
So, why were the TV and the police arriving at the same place at the same time?
TV, newspapers and radio all rocked up to catch the action. Needless to say, there were a few very, very dissatisfied souls.
Well, they were a few of many. So across the weekend, there were 551 fines for what is described as breaches of security measures. 397 charges were made for not wearing a mask, smoking without social distancing, or groups of people larger than the number, which I think was 10.
It was 10, I believe.
It was 10.
Yeah.
And that comes under...
It's going to go down to 6.
Right, okay. The legislation is the General Health Law 33/2011. If anyone's interested, you can look that up and you can find out what it means, but I think that's going to change over this weekend. That's probably one of the things.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on any announcements made, and we'll put them up on our website.
Yeah.
So really, yeah.
Meanwhile,
there's more.
Meanwhile, the police in Teruel evicted people from 2 clubs and a bar, and they issued 30 charges for not wearing a mask. This is all in accordance with the special measures brought in during the Pilar festivities. In addition to that,
non-festivities.
There's more. 45 people were issued 45 young people were issued with charges for concentrating in public roads and consuming alcohol.
Body on.
28 charges were given to public establishments that didn't have a license for excess capacity, because the capacities have changed It's like you were saying before. So
it's
there were
almost
more than 50%.
Yeah, it's almost Kafkaesque.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that the way that they've changed the restrictions ever so slightly. Now capacities have to adjust. And we all have to. We have to wait. We have to wait by our wireless for the local government to announce what these new restrictions are going to be. It is ludicrous. It is literally a recipe sheet for emotional and economic Armageddon.
Well, I have to say, though, okay, maybe there is one positive thing. I think that those numbers are probably lower than your average Pilar festival. Yeah? Unless people were injured because nobody was out there. Most people were at home, you know. That's something.
The dogs weren't scared by the non-fireworks.
Yep.
There you go.
And
so in conclusion, the week's news is the week started by everybody being fined for trying to have a nice time. The week ended with the Zaragoza Council trying to put up the Christmas lights to cheer us all up, then telling us before we all started our weekend that there's no point being cheerful because it's all going to change and get horrible again next week.
Well, we can't go outside to look at the lights they've just put on all of the streets. Hooray! So, Merry Christmas, everybody. I know it's October, but apparently the local council, that doesn't matter.
No. No.
If you do celebrate, do it indoors.
Within your
5
social
other people.
bubble. Here endeth the news.